I used to believe one thing with absolute certainty: death was the end. No soul, no heaven, no such thing as God. Just a slow shutdown of chemical reactions, a flicker fading into nothing. So then why, when my heart stopped beating, am I still here to tell you this story? Why would someone like me, who used to laugh in the face of people talking about the afterlife, end up on his knees, in tears, surrounded by formless light? My name is Michael Carter. I'm 45 years old, an electrical technician living in New Mexico. I was raised in a home with a strict father and a mother who passed away too soon. The only faith I ever had was in the tools I held and the laws of physics. To me, God was a fairy tale for the weak. I didn't believe in angels, and I certainly didn't believe in souls. I believed in myself, in hard work, and in never relying on anyone. Until the day I fell. What seemed like a minor accident turned out to be something far deeper, like a blade driven into my chest. I was working on a high scaffold, 8 meters off the ground, repairing electrical wiring, when my foot slipped. My body slammed onto the concrete below. My lungs were injured. Air leaked into my chest cavity. I couldn't breathe. But I didn't hit the emergency button. Because I was Michael Carter, the man who never asked for help. And in the moment everything began to blur, I thought to myself, fine. Let it end here. I had lived my entire life like I was in control. I didn't cry. I didn't need anyone. I wasn't weak. That's what I taught myself at the age of 8, when my father ignored my tears after a hard slap. I wore that mask for 40 years. But as the breath drained from my lungs, I realized I wasn't in control of anything. Strangely, there were no sirens, no panic. Just me, and the hum of the machines growing quieter. I remember that moment vividly. My eyes were open, but everything around me became hazy, like looking through fogged glass. My heartbeat slowed. Once more. Then nothing. Or so I thought, because something happened that I never would have dared imagine. I didn't disappear. I started to see more clearly than ever before. What do you think happens when an atheist dies and finds out he was wrong? Have you ever seen yourself from the outside? Not through a mirror, not through a camera, but from a higher vantage point where you appear as a stranger, just a body among objects? I was once certain the soul was nothing more than a fantasy. But the moment I died, the first thing I felt wasn't the end. It was a separation. A gentle tug, like being pulled out from the thick skin of identity. And then I was floating near the ceiling of the emergency room, looking down at my own lifeless body. The overhead light was dim, the voices of the doctors were distant, and everything moved in slow motion. Yet I was sharply, undeniably aware. I had no feet, no hands, yet I had consciousness. There was no pain anymore, no fear either. What shocked me wasn't death itself, but the overwhelming sense of freedom. A freedom I had never known, freedom from gravity, from flesh, from labels. I was no longer Michael, the cold, guarded, self-reliant electrician. I was a stream of thinking, feeling light, and I knew it hadn't ceased to exist. That's when I started to hear things no one had spoken. The thoughts of the doctor, the nurse. The assistant was standing quietly in the corner. I could feel their urgency, their concern, and even a quiet sadness from someone I had never met. The boundaries between us had dissolved. There was no longer a separate me. Only connection, weightless and deep, as if each mind were a drop of water in the same ocean of awareness. And then I saw the light. Not the kind you flip on with a switch. It wasn't blinding or harsh, but it made every part of my awareness vibrate. It didn't come from any particular direction. It was everywhere and nowhere at once. This light didn't just illuminate. It invited. Gently, patiently, without pressure. And I, who had never believed in anything beyond logic, found myself drawn to it, helpless to resist. The closer I moved toward the light, the more I felt the layers within me begin to peel away. The layer of anger, the layer of pride, the layer of I know everything. They dissolved like dust being washed away by a heavy rain. I realized I had lived far too long in a suit of armor. But now I was exposed not in shame, not in fear, but light as a leaf falling in its right season. What struck me as strange was this. I didn't want to go back. Not because I hated my old life, but because I could feel undeniably that this was where I belonged. A place where nothing needed to be proven, defended, or faked. I began to forget the concept of time, of days and bodies and burdens. And then something happened that made me pause. A voice. It didn't speak in sound, but resonated through my being like a ripple in still water. A message, clear and silent, entered the very core of me. You are not ready to see everything, but you are beginning to remember. Remember what? Who am I if not Michael? Have you ever asked yourself, if you had no name and no past, what would be left of you? Let me tell you about the moment I was brought into a realm of pure light, a place without division, where questions didn't need answers because they were answered by presence itself. And there, I began to see my life unfold, every detail, every decision, every wound, but through eyes that no longer judged. And that's when I finally understood. The truth had never looked like what I once believed. I was led into a space unlike anything that exists on Earth. There were no shapes, no walls, only pure light enveloping everything. But the wonder wasn't in the scenery. It was in the awareness. I no longer felt like I was seeing, but rather remembering, not with my brain, but with something deeper, something I can only describe as the memory of the soul. And then the images began to appear, as if my entire life were being replayed in slow motion. But these weren't the moments I'd be proud to showcase. They weren't the times I got promotions or received praise from coworkers. What I saw first was the time I lied to my mother to avoid a responsibility, and the look on her face when she found out I never visited her in the hospital. I saw the hurt in my ex-girlfriend's eyes as I walked out in anger without a word. I saw the disappointment in a colleague's face when I humiliated them just to protect my pride. Every detail, every word, every glance came back in vivid, startling clarity. But the most unsettling part wasn't reliving my mistakes. It was that I didn't watch these moments through my own eyes, but through the emotions of the people I had hurt. I felt the sting of their pain, the weight of their disillusionment, the silent loneliness they carried because of me. I wasn't the narrator of my life anymore. I was the recipient of its consequences. No one accused me. No one condemned me. But the truth laid bare with no excuses was the most honest judgment I'd ever known. I began to tremble. Not from fear of punishment or hell, but from the realization that I had gone through life unaware that every choice sent out ripples. Ripples that touched other hearts, other souls, and returned to me in another form the loneliness, the doubt, the emptiness I never understood. I had built the very cage I spent my life blaming the world for. The light never left me. It did not judge me or recoil. Instead, it embraced me without arms, wrapping me in understanding the way a gentle mother looks at a child who has gone astray, offering no scolding, no humiliation, only the quiet assurance, "Now you see." I wept, a kind of crying that needs no tears, a breaking open from the inside, because I realized the truth had not come to end me but to open me. Every act, no matter how small, leaves a trace. Each time I chose anger over empathy, coldness over curiosity, silence over an expression of love, I surrendered another chance to become a fuller human being. Then a question rose from the depths of that radiance. If you could live again, would you live differently? Before I could answer, another image appeared, my father's face. Not a memory, but his soul was waiting for me in the next space. If you have spent your life avoiding someone, and then stand before them in a realm where there is no lie to hide behind and no mask to wear, what will you do? The next space did not open before me, it flowed into me. A wave of emotion spread gently yet powerfully, as if a part of me had always known this moment was coming but never dared to touch it. Then he appeared, not the harsh figure I carried in memory, the stern man with steel-cold eyes, but a clear presence without a fixed shape. I knew it was my father. No one spoke, no one introduced him, yet every strand of awareness inside me hummed like a somber symphony cut short. I wanted to turn away. My soul trembled like the child who once hid behind a door during his outbursts. I had spent a lifetime resenting him, telling myself I was fine without his love. I had sworn that even if there were an afterlife, I would avoid him forever. Here, though, there was nowhere to hide. No lies, no armor, no walls. We faced each other in silence, and the memories rushed in. The times he shouted over a math problem, the slaps that came without warning, the dinners eaten in icy quiet. I once believed he was the reason I rejected God. If a father on earth could not love his child, why trust any father in heaven? Then he spoke not in human words, but in a language only the soul understands. Every phrase touched me like warm water, washing dust from old wounds. He said he had been afraid of not being good enough, afraid of failing the role he never learned how to play. He apologized, not because he was cruel, but because he had once been a child who was never taught how to love. Then he said something that shattered me completely. "You must forgive the part of me that lives in you." I understood in that moment. Forgiveness is not erasing the pain. It is accepting that we were both wounded. I am not a weak child. I am strong enough to sever the chain of hurt passed down through generations. And he is no longer the domineering father of my memories. He is simply a soul searching for the way back to himself. I moved toward him, not with feet but with intention, and we embraced. There were no bodies, yet I felt a clear merging of our beings. In that instant, I forgave, without conditions or promises that life would have been different had we done things another way. I forgave because I was weary of holding myself rigid. Forgiveness did not weaken me, it set me free. As my father dissolved into the light, a lifelong emptiness was filled for the first time. Not by someone else's presence, but by my return to my own heart. I no longer needed him to apologize again. I only needed to know he had once been a child as well. But my journey was not finished. Something else awaited me, a decision, a turning point, a final question my soul had yet to answer. Would I stay or would I return? In the next moment, I faced the choice between eternal peace and a world still tangled in turmoil, and I chose the path my earthly self never imagined I would choose. I had nothing left to hide from, no unnamed pain, no one to resent, nothing to cling to. It felt as if I had dissolved into a field of light without borders, a gentle merging where everything I once called separate no longer was. I was no longer Michael, the stubborn electrician. I was simply a current within an immense, accepting light. In that stillness, a question rose inside me, as though it had waited forever to be spoken. Do you want to go back? I had already died. I had come so far. I had forgiven, understood, and remembered my essence, light, freedom, and untethered. Why return to an aching body, a chaotic life, old wounds, and duties no one imposed except myself? Then something astonishing happened. I saw a future, not a vague prediction, but vivid scenes that took my breath away. I saw my daughter's face, her eyes waiting. I saw a man myself, standing before students, sharing his story not to prove anything but to reach hearts. I saw that same man no longer repairing circuits but planting light in weary souls, not through preaching but through a quiet presence. I understood I could stay, and no punishment would follow. Yet if I returned, I could become a bridge, uniting two realms people believe are separate: logic and spirit, pain and healing, anger and love, the man I had been and the one I could become. No force compelled me, no sermon, no angelic command, only a choice as pure as the light itself. I chose to go back, not from duty or fear, but from love, love not given by another but waiting to flow through me once more, even if only once more. The moment I decided, the light softened, not fading but drawing back as if the universe nodded in agreement. I felt the weight of my body, exhausted yet familiar. Machines beeped, voices called my name, my eyes opened, and I was back. I was no longer the man who lived to deny. I was the one who had stepped through an unnamed door carrying a truth that needs no belief yet deserves to be heard. So what happened after I awoke? How do you live again in a world that seems unchanged when you are entirely new? I opened my eyes, not with the usual senses but with a deeper, wider, and quieter level of awareness. The hospital lights no longer glared, and the machines no longer sounded like alarms of worry. They were simply signals that I was back. I carried a piece of eternity inside a body I thought was finished. My body ached, felt heavy and slow, yet my soul had never been lighter. When I looked at the nurse, I did not see a function, I saw a person. I did not ask when I could be discharged. I simply held her hand and said, "Thank you for being here." Her surprised expression told me no one had ever said that to her, and in her heart, I saw a small spark brighten, something I could see because I had walked through the light. A few days later, my daughter arrived. The moment she came into the room, my voice caught, not from fear of losing her, but because I realized I had never truly seen her before. I had been physically present at parent conferences and dinners, yet my heart was frozen and my mind occupied with work and doubt. Now I looked at her and saw an entire universe alive in front of me. I hugged her without speaking, and she did not ask for explanations. We both knew something had changed forever. I did not tell my full story right away. It is hard to believe when a stubborn atheist begins talking about soul and light, but I did not need to convince anyone. I only needed to live in a way that made others ask themselves why I carried such peace, and what in my gaze made them see themselves more clearly. I returned to work for a short time and then resigned. I began writing, not bestsellers, just small reflections and quiet conversations with people who had lost their way, souls as dry as mine once was. I did not preach. I simply told what had happened, and they listened not because I was right but because I was honest. I learned to watch the sunrise every morning. I learned to ask, "Are you all right?" and truly wait for the answer. I learned to forgive each day, not for others but for myself, for the past, and for the times I did not know how to love. Every breath became a gift, every moment a nameless miracle. I once died, but no one needs to die to live as if awakened. You only need to remember this. You are not just this body, this name, this fear. You are light, presence, the eternal rhythm beating in the heart of the universe. And if you still doubt, as I once did, then doubt freely. But don't close the door. Because sometimes, right in the moment you believe there's nothing left, a door will open. And the light will be waiting. Not to end you, but to begin you for the very first time. I didn't come back to tell a sensational story. I came back because someone out there is living the life I used to live, lonely in the crowd, strong on the outside but empty inside, always doubting love, always afraid of being deceived, always pretending not to need anyone. And if even one of them hears what I've been through and sees themselves in it, then every second I came back is worth it. At first, I shared everything only with my daughter. She stayed silent for a long time, then hugged me tightly. I didn't ask if she believed me, because I knew love doesn't need proof. It only needs to be felt. From there, I began writing every fragment of memory, every layer of awareness, every unnamed vibration. I shared it with small groups of people who had lost loved ones, people who had near-death experiences, and people the world had labeled delusional. I am not a preacher. I don't stand on a stage with a booming voice. I simply sit in a circle, look people in the eyes, and say, I understand. I didn't believe either. But I died. And I saw. And I came back to say this, you are not alone. What I say doesn't spread through campaigns or promotions. It spreads through connection. Some people cry. Some laugh. Some still doubt, but their eyes soften. Some go home and call their mothers after years of silence. Some write letters to their 10-year-old selves. Some pour out a drink they've battled with for decades. Some begin to forgive, not because others deserve it, but because they deserve peace. I don't need anyone to say I changed their life. I just want them to know they can change their own, simply by remembering who they are. Remembering the light they once saw in a dream, once felt in true love, once brushed against watching their child sleep. Because that light never left them. It's only waiting for them to open the door. My story doesn't end with a miracle. It begins with a choice to live, for the first time, truly. And when you dare to live with truth, you become the miracle in your own story, and in someone else's. You do not have to believe me. I once refused to believe stories about souls, heaven, or realms of light. I thought only what could be measured was real, and everything beyond that was superstition. Yet there is one thing I cannot deny, the feeling that rises when you look into the eyes of someone in pain, and your heart knows you have stood in that place yourself. I am not sharing this story to make anyone change faiths, or adopt religion, or accept the promise of heaven. I share it because I once lived without love, and that was the truest death. Death is not just the moment a heart stops beating. It is when we no longer see beauty in a stranger's gaze, when the first rain of the season no longer stirs us, when we stop listening to the whisper inside that says there is more. You do not need to die to remember who you are. You only need to be silent long enough, still enough, and brave enough to face the part of yourself you left behind. I once thought strength meant never crying. Now I know I am stronger because I can weep without shame. I once thought freedom meant believing in nothing. Now I know true freedom is believing in love, not because it is logical, but because it keeps you alive. If you are exhausted, lost, or convinced you do not matter, hear me. The light I saw is flowing in you right now. You do not have to earn it, you only have to remember it. Remember that you were formed from that very light, and you can begin again regardless of who you have been, what you have done, or what you could not believe. Do not wait for death to discover you have never truly lived. Live now. Live honestly. Live fully. Live long enough to forgive, deep enough to feel, and lightly enough for the light to shine through you. The light has never left. It has only waited for you to turn back toward it.